If I could only pick 10 favorites out of the countless makeup products I tried in 2024, it would be these. Starting off with Complexion, the product that impressed me the most in 2024 was definitely the CL Tint and Protect SPF 50 Tinted Serum. This is available in 13 different shades, and I actually own shades 1 through 4. I have them all sitting here right now, so I figured it might be helpful for any of you that are between those shades to swatch them real time here on camera, and then that can also help me to figure out what's going to be the best color match for this skin tone right now. This is shade 01. I'm gonna just kind of like pat this into my skin so it doesn't drip down everywhere. Next is 02. Then we have 03. And last is 04, which is definitely not going to be the shade that I used today. That is obviously much too dark for me right now. But I was using this in the summer and mixing it with lighter shades. There we have it. I think I'm actually just going to mix a little bit of shade 2 and 3. I feel like shade 2 is just a little bit... Also, if you guys hear like crashing's dramatic, but weird noises, it is insanely windy out right now and everything's blowing around, so that's why. Anyway, I feel like shade 2 is a little bit too peachy for me, so, oh, that actually looks really nice. So as you obviously just saw with the swatches, the formula of this is so insanely liquidy and runny. It truly has a serum-like texture. That is definitely something that has grown to be a preference of mine. I talked about this in my 2024 fails video, but products that are meant to be complexion products, foundation, tinted serum, skin tint, whatever you want to call it. Anything in that category that is thick and creamy is just something that I don't gravitate towards anymore because of the fact that I have tried something like the CL tinted serum and now know what it's like to use something that is so liquidy like this. Like, I love it. Because not only does that make this super lightweight, but I also feel like it really lends itself to more of a skin-like finish. And that is definitely why this was the most impressive complexion product for me of 2024. Out of everything that I've tried over the last few years, nothing has been as skin-like as the CL Tinted Serum. This is described as having medium buildable coverage. I definitely can't get this built up to be full coverage, which I personally wouldn't want anyway. I actually love the level of coverage. I feel like it's perfect. It can definitely be sheared out to have lighter coverage too, if that's your preference. But I just feel like the level of coverage is perfect. The finish, on Sephora's website, it's described as having a natural finish. I do not personally agree with that. I definitely think it's juicy on the dewier side, but because of the skin-like quality, it's almost like a glassy dewy finish instead of being really wet and dewy. So here's what this looks like close up all by itself. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. I can't recommend it enough. Keep in mind that I do have bright lights on right now, otherwise it would be too dark. So that definitely makes it look a little bit shinier in my T-zone than it actually is in just natural lighting. I did show what it looks like with natural lighting only in my tinted sunscreen showdown that I posted this summer. So I will list that below if you would like to see what this looks like without the bright lights, but I mean, even still with them, I'm like, perfection. And I can't forget to acknowledge the fact that this has SPF 50. Icing on the cake. Second is my favorite concealer. Last year, my favorite concealer was House Labs, but that has officially been replaced by the newer Tarte Creaseless Creamy Concealer. This is available in 30 shades, and I personally have 2 of them. The first is 22 Light Neutral, and the second is 29 Light Medium Neutral. I have actually been mixing these 2 shades a little bit. That probably seems like a bad idea because the light medium shade is obviously too dark for me right now, but I feel like this shade is just a little bit too light and bright, so mixing them together just gives me a bit of a better balance. Okay, Sephora's website calls this both medium and full coverage. Under the highlights, it says medium coverage, but then about the product, what it is, a creamy full coverage concealer. I personally think that this is medium coverage. I definitely don't get full coverage with this. I can still see a little bit of my dark circles peeking through, but that is actually something that I prefer because I feel like it just gives for a bit more of a natural result. Obviously, natural's not the right word. Like, obviously, I have makeup on. That's not a secret. But I think it's just like a little bit less makeup-y, which I have told you guys is my preference about 1,000,000 times, so you guys know. This one is also supposed to have a natural finish, and I actually do agree with that. There is definitely a difference between the finish of this and the CL Tinted Serum. It really does just seem to settle naturally on my skin without looking matte and without looking dewy. The texture of this concealer is a lighter weight cream. Like, it's not a super heavy, thick cream, but compared to something like CL, which is really liquidy and lightweight, it definitely is creamier in consistency. When I put this side by side, did like a split face wear test with House Labs on one side and Tarte on the other, I really felt like these looked nearly identical when they were set with powder, and really the only difference was with the level of creasing at the end of the day. House definitely settled into lines just like a little bit more than Tarte. It's definitely not something that I would consider to be a creasy concealer by any means. Obviously not, because it was a favorite of mine for a long time. It's just that Tarte really doesn't crease for me at all. So here is that Tarte concealer up close. Love it. Last year I did not have a new favorite powder. I was kind of just sticking to the powders that I had loved, like the e.l.f. Halo Glow and the Sigma Soft Focus powder, both of which I still absolutely love. But I did fall in love with another powder this year, and that is the Micole Skin Melt Loose Powder. This is available in 3 different shades. I have the shade Translucent, which is supposed to be for all skin tones, but they also have a deep medium shade for deep brown to medium skin tones that is very yellowy, and then a rich/deep shade for rich to deep skin tones, which is more of like a peachy color. This has 0 white cast on me, but I guess with skin this light, that's not saying much. So this powder is one that's really unique to my collection. I mean, not really unique, like how different can setting powders be, but it's definitely a little bit different than something like Sigma Soft Focus, which I feel does a much better job at controlling oils throughout the day. So I rely on something like Sigma or even e.l.f. if it's really hot and humid and I need that oil control, because this powder from Micole is definitely not something that like competes with those in that sense. However, when I do not need oil control, which unfortunately for me here in Minnesota is for a lot of the year when it's really cold out, this powder is my go-to. I really do feel like this just melts into my skin, and at first any setting powder is gonna look just kind of flat and really powdery, so you'll see how it's looking at the end of this video and how it kind of comes to life when it does melt together with my skin and the rest of my makeup. And I've had this on for, I don't know, maybe even just like 20 or 30 minutes. You can really just see how beautiful it lays on my skin. It's just such a lightweight, seamless powder that I feel really pairs beautifully with every single makeup item that I own. And despite this not being the absolute best for all-day oil control, it definitely helps with all-day makeup wear. So if you're looking for just like a super fine powder that melts into your skin, doesn't look cakey, doesn't look powdery, doesn't look dry, helps with all-day makeup wear, then you will probably love a Micole Skin Melt. I feel like I went through like 2 or 3 of these last winter and spring alone because I was using this every single day. I love it so much. All right, we're going to jump over to eyes next. Whenever I'm doing my own makeup and just like getting ready myself, not on camera, I always have to do my eyes after all of this and before I do everything else because I need to get it over with. Let me know if any of you agree with me, but applying mascara is my least favorite part of applying makeup. It's like the worst part of the entire process, so I like to get it out of the way so that I can enjoy the bronzer, blush, highlight after. I know I'm weird. I have 3 different eyeshadow palettes here that are all similar enough that I'm not going to count them as like 3 individual spots in the top 10. We'll just group them all together. 2 of them are from the same brand anyway. They look nearly identical. Non-makeup lovers see this and are like, those are all the exact same thing. But they are all K-Beauty eyeshadow palettes, which was just like a new category discovery for me in 2024. I did not know that palettes like this existed, and this is what I have been looking for my entire freaking life. If you are extra fair like me, you understand the struggle that is finding eyeshadow that does not look too dark, too harsh, and too orange on you. It's like a near impossible task. Take, for example, something like the Makeup by Mario eyeshadow palette, which I have recommended so many times before. This was my go-to for years, but that's because I didn't know anything like this existed. I was not able to use so many of the shades in this because they were way too dark and pulled way too orange. Like pretty much I was just using the lightest shade mixed with the peach and then using these deeper shades as eyeliner. Same thing goes for this Patrick Ta eyeshadow palette. I mean, you can see the difference in the depth of shades. Unless, again, I was trying to use one of these shades as eyeliner, this entire part of the palette went untouched for me. But honestly, even these 2 shades right here were just looking too dark on me unless I had self-tanner on, so I would try to mix these top 4, but a lot of the times that would just end up with a color combination that didn't look quite right, that did end up being a little bit too dark. Like, I just could not find anything that was exactly right. I used to actually build my own single eyeshadow palettes with like the lightest shades I could find from every brand. And even still, I was never able to create anything that looked like these. So this right here is the Clio Senior Latte palette. This, I would say, has more neutral to cool tone shades in it. And then these two palettes are from the brand Wake Make. The top is vanilla blurring and the bottom is caramel blurring. These two specific shade options have been discontinued on YesStyle for a few months now, which is a huge bummer because they obviously were my favorite. Wake Make has a ton of other color options though, so you might find something that you like even better than these anyway, but if not, I did notice that there are several other sites that still carry these two shades, so if like this is exactly what you want, they're out there, just not where I originally purchased them. In case you wanted to see these palettes side by side, Clio is on top, Wake Make Vanilla Blurring is on bottom. Wake Make is definitely a little bit warmer, and then we have Clio versus Wake Make Caramel Blurring, which has some deeper shades available than Vanilla Blurring. These were the two I was mostly using all summer long because of the fact that they pull warmer, and obviously self-tan is warm because it's orange. But Clio is what I've been rocking in recent months without self-tan. The colors just are so perfect, so flattering for my skin tone for once in my life. But regardless of the palette I'm using, I typically always start by just mixing together some of the lightest shades on like a really large brush like this. This one is the BK Angie Hot and Flashy A506. And then I will just place that all over my lid and up to my brow bone. Just gives me like a tiny boost of color and then just kind of helps to even things out and create a nice base for the crease shade that I'll use. And then I will create the most subtle depth in my crease with these mid-tone shades, and I'm using that on a Sephora Pro Crease 26. And then I will just lightly place that in my crease and then outer corner. And that is literally it. Because again, I am trying to keep this subtle, and what I love about all of these eyeshadows, both Clio and Wake Make, is that I can easily do that. These are just softer and less intensely pigmented than both Makeup by Mario and Patrick Ta, and I mean so many other eyeshadows I've tried from the States. So it's just a lot easier for me to get that softer, subtler look. I do usually also bring those like mid-tone shades in the crease down on the outer part of my lid a little bit. I feel like it just kind of helps to like bring everything together cohesively. And then I'm just going back over that with the first brush I used to blend everything together. Boring, I know, but that's just kind of where I'm at with my eyeshadow journey. I love how it looks. Ta-da! While I do not have a new favorite regular mascara this year, I do have a new favorite tubing mascara. Before 2024, I definitely didn't regularly use tubing mascara. I feel like so many people that I know that use tubing mascara will only use tubing. They're like loyal to tubing. They exclusively use tubing. That was never my journey. I had definitely tested out some of the popular ones throughout the past few years, but there was nothing that was like exclusive to me. Does that make, no, what? That I was exclusive to? You get what I'm saying. I was not exclusively using tubing mascara. Like one of my best friends, Christine, is like that. She will only use tubing mascara, nothing else. And after this year, I can now say that I understand and appreciate that sentiment because I did a giant tubing mascara showdown. I tested out 20 of the top rated tubing mascaras. I did all day wear tests. Like, you know the drill if you watch my showdowns, especially my mascara showdowns. I not only did wear tests, but I also removed them all on camera for you guys too. Anyway, I absolutely loathed. So loathing. I saw Wicked with my sisters last weekend, and I am not kidding. It is all I have been able to think about every single day. The morning after I saw it, I woke up and my first thought upon waking was the oh, I can't wait to see it again. I need to go this weekend. I'm obsessed. Anywho, I loathed so many of those tubing mascaras, but this one just blew me out of the water. It is the Tartelette tubing mascara, not to be confused with the XL tubing mascara from Tarte. That one sucked. If you are curious, this is what the wand looks like, which makes me wonder how I even love this so much because like, look how short and stumpy these bristles are. Normally this kind of thing does not work for me, but it does in this formula. I'm gonna curl my lashes, but I'm not going to apply primer. I have tested out using primer before this mascara and it just definitely doesn't mesh. Like the tubing formula with a primer that isn't tubing doesn't seem to go well. Sorry, nobody wanted to watch my eye freaky like that while I was talking. Okay, I just curled those way too high. They're like pressed against my eyelid. So this is smearing everywhere. That was my bad. So I would say that this is like in between wet and dry. It's not an overly wet mascara, but it is something that's a little bit thicker, and something about that combination of like not too wet, a little bit thick, just makes for a mascara that layers on my lashes so well. Like I feel like I barely have to touch my lashes and it's just like yes. The length is amazing, and everything about this just like checks all of my insanely specific, insanely critical, picky, why my brain cannot think while I'm applying mascara, requirements for mascara. The length is insane. The volume is insane. It wears well. I mean, just like overall, all of that is amazing. The one like potential downside to this would be the way that it comes off, because I know for some people, they want to use a tubing mascara that comes off in little tubes. And this partially does that. I would say it like partially tubes off, but it mostly smears when I remove it, which I have no issue with. Like I don't really care about if it tubes or smears because it still comes off super easily. Okay, I had to finish that off camera because my brain was not letting me multitask. So this is what it looks like. Like, wow, it is so good. Sister Emily, will you also show everyone what this looked like from my tubing mascara showdown? Because I feel like it looked even better because this one's a little bit old and like starting to get dried out. I mean, even still, I think it looks amazing, but I want people to see that too. All right, moving on to bronzer, finally, since my least favorite part is done now. I did find a new favorite bronzer this year. It's a new launch from RMS Beauty. They basically took their absolutely impeccable blush formula and turned it into a bronzer. So their blush version, which is the Redimension Hydro Powder Blush that I talk about all the time, was in my 2023 makeup favorites video. And now the bronzer favorite is naturally in my 2024 favorites video because it's like the same kind of thing. Meaning that it looks like highlighter in the pan, like it looks so highlightery and reflective, but when applied to the skin with a regular makeup brush, it translates into the most beautiful, just like sun-kissed, beachy looking glow. And another reason why I'm especially excited about these, aside from just already knowing that I love this formula, this, by the way, is the Redimension Hydro Powder Bronzer, is because I told you guys that while I always really loved that Hourglass Ambient Lighting Bronzer, I was just finding it to be a little bit too reflective and highlightery on my skin, which is interesting because it doesn't look as reflective as RMS in the pan. Like RMS looks like it would be way more highlightery, but I just felt like this was starting to look a little bit too highlightery for my personal preference, especially in the summer when I'm sweating and oily. And RMS was just a little bit more toned down for me in that sense. So this first shade that I have is Tan Lines, and the second shade is Beach Walk Betty. So Beach Walk Betty, Tan Lines. I am just going to use Tan Lines today. See? Like this doesn't look how you would expect it to look based on the pan in a good way. Another thing that I've also really been enjoying doing, oh, I forgot to do my brows. I'll do that after, is mixing more of a luminous bronzer like this with a matte bronzer. I feel like the two finishes balance out so nicely and it ends up giving like the perfect effect on the skin. Okay, so there is that RMS bronzer by itself. So pretty. If you are curious to see what this looks like mixed with a matte bronzer, I'm gonna put a little bit of this Fenty Beauty bronzer on top, just so you can see. This is the Sunstalker bronzer in the shade Inda Sun 01. When I'm doing this, I usually don't like layer it like this. I just kind of swirl back and forth in the pans and apply together. I feel like I'm having to do a lot of that these days, like kind of mixing and matching products in order to get something that works exactly how I want it to. But it's kind of fun. And then that is what they look like mixed together. Okay, fixed my brows off camera. No new brow favorites this year. Still the Kosas Brow Pop Dual Action Defining Pencil in Blonde and the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter. Moving right along to blush, my favorite blush of 2024 was also your favorite. I just talked to you guys about this 2 videos ago in this video right here, where I shared the top 20 products that you guys purchased through my affiliate links in 2024. And that blush is the Apu Juicy Pang Jelly Blusher. This is such a satisfying blush to use. It has this really fun putty-like texture, and it's so insanely soft and smooth, but unlike so many other putty products, it's not matte and dry. That finger swatch is not doing it justice. You'll see it applied on my skin, but it just has such a gorgeous skin-like finish, and I have every every shade. Starting off with this light orangey shade, BE01. This bright pink is VL01. My personal favorite is this kind of rosy mauve in the shade PK01. And then like the warmer toned version of that is BE02. And then I'll just pop in this last one so you can compare. This deeper red shade is RD01. Okay, I feel like you can see here in the pan. See how it's like glassy? That's how I feel it translates on my skin. I think I'm actually gonna mix these two today. PK01 with RD01. Okay. Like I was saying in that last video, I really hope that they come out with more shades in this collection, but I'm also not getting my hopes up because I feel like something I've noticed about K-beauty makeup products and like Korean skincare products as well is that they seem to discontinue very frequently and then like newer changed versions are launched. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens with these, but then again, I don't know how long these have been out. Ugh, these are so good and just like lighter in coverage. Again, kind of similar to what I was saying with the eyeshadows from the K-beauty brands. The pigment just isn't so intense, so it's just easier to get a look that's a little bit more subtle. You can definitely build it up if you want a pop of color, but I feel like so many blushes in the States are just so insanely pigmented right off the bat that it's like, oh my God, powder blush explosion. Look at that. It's so pretty. I feel like my viewfinder is making the colors look a lot more saturated than they're actually looking in person. I don't know if that's like the lighting or what, but trust me, it's like just the most gorgeous, more natural flush ever. I don't have a new favorite highlighter this year, so I'm just gonna quickly pop on my longtime favorite, which is this Dior palette. I apply these two shades to just like this top of my brow bone and my inner corner essentially every time I do my makeup. I just had serious deja vu. I've probably said that exact same thing like 700 times before, let's be real. Ow! Not me just cutting my skin open. Dang, nail is sharp. Oh my God. Sabotage. Ow. Oh my God, that actually hurt. The last two products in my top 10 are lip products, and they are also both from K-beauty brands. 2024 was also the year that I just became absolutely obsessed with lip products like this. I feel like the whole world of Korean beauty lip stains and tints is kind of similar to me with eyeshadows, where I just wasn't able to find anything exactly like this in the States. We definitely have lip stains that are really amazing, but there's just something so uniquely special about these kinds of products from K-beauty brands. Even though the next one is my favorite formula, I feel like I actually ended up wearing this the most just because I found the shade to be so flattering. So this is the 3CE Style Nada Water Blur Lip Tint in the shade Double Wind. This has a lightweight cream texture that feels kind of wet when you first apply it, but it dries down to have this super light, soft touch, almost like powdery feel. Not overly powdery and dry, but that's just, I don't know, that's like the best way I can describe it. I can't with my bleeding chin. Oh my God. It's something that I always wore a lip gloss on top of because that's just my personal preference, but you can obviously wear it by itself. And the pigment levels are definitely workable. Like you can shear this out, you can build it up, and it dries down pretty quickly to have this natural matte finish, which by itself I'm not obsessed with, but this kind of like kiss of color in this shade with a gloss on top, I just, oh my God. There's a giant bouncy ball rolling down my street. Okay. Oh, look. You guys, I love it. I just think it's so beautiful, and I loved the color even more with self-tan on. I was wearing this constantly this summer. And the second, of course, is the Peri Para Ink Mood Glowy Tint. These, I think, were my three most worn shades this year. We'll swatch quickly. We have 0, 3, 10, and 19. Oh my God, so gorgeous. My lips are a little bit stained from this, so just keep that in mind. The shade's not going to be exactly spot on. We'll do number 10. This has a super comfortable, creamy gel texture. It's like a gel cream. I don't need to wear a balm with this. Like it's comfy enough by itself. Feels so good. It has light to medium pigment for the most part. Some of the shades are really vibrant and you can get more of a full pigment look with it. And if you just leave them like that and don't like rub your lips together, blot them off, then they have a really nice glossy finish. Like beautiful by itself, but I really like kind of blotting them out a tiny bit. I don't know, there's just something about that more slightly blotted, blurred look that I think is so pretty. And then it's kind of sheared out a little. Oh, I just love that. Let's put a gloss on top because why not? And make this just like even juicier. And that is what that looks like, which I just think is so beautiful. There's something very glowy about the Peri Para Ink Mood Glowy Tints, which is why they're called glowy tints. And that is a really unique effect that I have not found in any lipsticks or lip products from the States, which is why they absolutely deserved a spot in my top 10 makeup favorites of 2024, which we have now completed. I'll zoom you guys out a bit. Let me know in the comments below what your makeup favorites from the past year were. I will definitely be scrolling, reading through everything, adding things to my cart, and also let me know if there are any K-beauty makeup products that you want me to try out. I have a giant cart on YesStyle that I'm getting ready to hit purchase on so that I can just test even more out. I feel like the world of Korean beauty makeup has just opened up to me and I'm super excited about it. Before you go, it would mean so much to me if you could give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, click on that notification bell and send my channel to a friend. All of those things really help to support my channel, which just means so much to me. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for watching my videos. I love the freaking heck out of you guys. Make sure to stay tuned for my next one because that will be up in a few days. But until then, I hope you have a great few days.